welcome to the Path of Plumber podcast. I'm here with Shadd Matthews, the owner of Tri-County Drain Cleaning Specialist, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So we talked obviously prior to the call, and the thing that stuck out to me was most people start out in plumbing and kind of work their way into lining, and it sounds like you kind of went the opposite way, right? Like you kind of started out in lining and then worked your way back to plumbing.
That's right. Yeah, we started out lining. I started with municipal lining in 2008, doing large diameter, over the whole wet out 66 inch and, steam, hot water cure, the whole nine. I worked for a company called, I started with a company called Spinello Companies. And, I went through that, and I didn't even know that you could put liner in something smaller than 36 inch because I never seen it when I worked for Spinello,
Yeah.
And I heard that, there was a company down the road from us that was putting liner in and they didn't have to go crawl pipe. So I was like, man, I want to go there,
Yeah.
So it was called inland pipe rehabilitation. So I jumped ship and went to inland pipe and became a TV tech, cutting taps and doing all that. Then I moved on to SAK and SAK Construction out of St. Louis, Missouri. And I was just tired of traveling, man. So I was like, what do I know how to do that I can go home and provide? And I was searching online. I come across like pipe lining supply, and I was like, shit, they make liner for 4-inch. So I bought some liner and did some like demos in my shop, and we went off on the races, and that's how we kind of got into the plumbing industry. Yeah, we come at it a little back asswards,
Yeah. And what has it been like, that transition? Because obviously you're probably doing more residential, light commercial now, going from municipal large pipe to this. How's that transition been?
Okay, so on the application of installing liner, it's been super simple for me to come from large diameter such small diameter. It's easy for us to line up the jobs and get them in. One of the biggest obstacles that I come across was, without being a plumber beforehand or working in a service industry in that realm of things, when I started my company, I just wanted to line pipe. So I had to get into plumbing to find the customers to line pipe for, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
The first, 2 years in business, we put very little liner in. The only liner that I did put in was like subcontract work that I picked up from other lining companies that, brought us on. But this year here, I'm from a small town just outside of Pittsburgh. So we had to do a complete re-education to our customer base of even what trenchless pipe technology is, or CIPP lining. And we're just now starting to catch some traction to where we're able to line quite frequently.
Yeah, and you were saying that you do quite a bit of just like traditional drain cleaning, and then that leads into a lot of the lining. Can you talk, because I work with a lot of drain cleaning companies, I work with a lot of lining companies, and there's a few that understand how to take a drain call and turn it into a lining call. Can you talk about that process and how you kind of go about that?
Yep. So typically, we start off with a service call for a clogged drain or something along those lines. I tell you where we really focus our efforts towards is second opinion. We really dial that in. So, we market towards second opinion, but on a typical day, what happens is we get caught out for a clogged drain, and in our service, I always include the camera inspection. Most of the customers, when they call us or any drain cleaning company, they're looking for professional advice because they don't want sewage to be in their, in our case, in their basement any longer,
Yeah.
So, from there, we find the repairs and, or issues that we can offer repair for and move right along into that. Typically, where I'm at in the world, all of our houses have basements, so we're able to access the pipe typically through a waste stack coming down into the basement. And, just the cost comparison of what it would take to jackhammer up the entire basement floor, replace that pipe, carry all that shit out of there. I can shoot a liner and, reinstate some access in there. We're done in 6 hours. When the customer hears that, because, the basement always becomes the storage place. That's, when you got to tell them you got to jackhammer up this entire basement floor, first thing they think is, where the hell am I going to put all this shit that I've been collecting for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
And we say, hey, we can shoot a liner in there and rehabilitate the structural integrity of this pipe, and you won't have this problem any longer. And I can do it in less than a day, and you don't have to move all your stuff out of here. It's sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Good.
With outside of the house lining from, where it exits the home to the main line, here our average lateral is about 50 feet. And typically, I'm sure it's the same most everywhere else. The water line sits right on top of the sewer line, and the gas line is right in proximity of the water line. You know,
Yeah.
so when we get down to talking about how we can repair this, usually if I can just dig the trap and save their yard, I mean, we've had pretty bad weather the last couple of years here with rain. They're all for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's worked out well to transition. Was it hard for you in the beginning to go and like you said, you had to educate kind of your customer base on, traditional digging versus trenchless, or because of your knowledge on the lining side, that was easier? It was more of just getting the customers at that point.
It was, it was tough on both ways. And I still have problems today where, I like to say that my area is about 10 years behind the times. I still have issues today where I'll have customers say, I haven't heard about that. I'd rather just dig and put new pipe in.
Yeah.
But, I had to completely educate myself because I've never been in a position where I had to sell anything. I've always just been an employee on a municipal level. I didn't deal with the customer. The customer was Baltimore City. I dealt with the inspector.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So delivery of trying to explain what the liner was and how it can benefit the consumer, honestly, that took me about 3 years to dial into. Now, now that more and more, being that I'm from a small town, word of mouth spreads pretty well. In our local area, we have, people know that we're able to offer a trenchless solution. So we're starting to get that organic. People are calling like, hey, do you line sewer lines? You know what I mean? And we're starting to pick up on that. But yeah, it's been a tough transition for me all the way around, just because I feel that I've never been on the service side of a business. So like my delivery of putting this all together has been, just shooting from the hip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But it sounds like you've kind of figured out and have a groove with it at this point. And we talked about marketing. What did you do to generate leads and business and kind of get out there? What are some of the things you've already done?
So I could tell you now, my marketing probably needs to spend a little bit of time with you.
Yeah.
What we've pushed heavily is and our national brands. And we all know who the national brands are, but all the local companies around me that have the foot in the door price, the 69 any drainer free, and you can almost guarantee when they come out and they spend 6 hours out on that job, and they, the price tag, I can almost put a number on it when they tell me the company that was there before me. When a customer calls and they say, hey, so and so is out here and they told me that my line has a crack in it and it all needs jackhammer replaced, and the cost is $15,600. We was all, I use Facebook heavily, and I would talk about these scenarios when I went out to a customer's place and they told me, so and so was out here and needed $15,600, and we did a camera inspection for $185 and found that there was a couple offset joints, and we were able to line the pipe and do it for $5,500 without digging up the whole yard. And honestly, we've created a raving fan culture locally to our hub, to where everybody knows that, if they see somebody on Facebook say, hey, I just got an estimate to replace my sewage for $10,000, we get tagged in that over and over. Like, give Tri-County Drain a call, let them come out and take a look at it. So that is, that's pretty much where we've picked up organically most of our leads. As far as marketing, I just let a local company take over, our SEO and stuff about a year now. But as far as lead generation, we're not doing too hot.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like word of mouth has done good. And that's, that's the best form of marketing. Even though I'm an online marketer, I know that a referral lead is greater than anything I can get you on Google or anything, because that's a lead that someone's already vouched for you.
Right.
But obviously expanding, that's good, but it sounds like you've done at least enough good work to have a name. Have you ever actually just tried to network with other plumbers, or because you kind of do drains, it's a little bit harder, or do you get those plumbing referrals too from other guys that they realize, man, I'm not going to dig this up, let me just refer you guys?
Yeah, so we get a lot of professional referrals from other plumbers. We have some other guys that are like trying to get into trenchless. They're mostly focused on pipe bursting, so they market. But I tell you, like when I first started, one of the things I tried to separate myself from, and it kind of confused probably my brand on the internet, was I tried to push heavily that I'm not a plumber. I'm a drain specialist, but
Yeah.
as far as search items and keywords on the internet, no one's searching, for the consumer, they don't go to the internet and search for a sewer specialist. They search for a plumber when they are in need of an emergency. Right.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that like I've tried to do that has helped us stand out in my areas, in my general scenario, most of our plumbers don't have the specialized equipment that I carry, such as the Picote cutter or hydro jetters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if one of my local plumbers that has a big name, if they get out on a drain that they really don't feel like digging, they'll call us in to see if we can maybe hydro jet it and get it open, and then
Yeah.
over and move to the trenchless side. But I would say probably not that much of it. About 30% of our lining comes from recommendations from other plumbers. It could be a lot better though.
Yeah, totally understand. In Tri-County, what does that cover? Like, give me an idea of your coverage area that you go into.
So, I don't really know how I came up with this name, but we're based out of Fayette County, and our residing counties around us that I wanted to focus on was Greene and Washington County. That has since changed to Washington and Westmoreland County. I tell you what, when I first started, I had a business partner, and we called the company ProFlow Trenchless Technology, and we had no idea about cleaning drains. We just wanted to line pipe. And then we got into cleaning drains, but we both worked out of town lining pipe for other companies. So we were based in our business from Thursday to Sunday, and we kind of separated and went our own ways. So I was out, the first customer base that I tried to go after was preventative maintenance for restaurants. I bought a small jetter, and I went to all these restaurants, and I tried to, market myself to jet their grease trap interceptors and do preventative maintenance for them. And in turn, condition assessment and find lining work out of that was my game. Completely did not work. Restaurants don't care. They don't want to spend
yeah, unless it's backed up. It's
right.
It really is. Plumbing is such a weird industry where like nobody cares about it until it stops working, and then it becomes the most important thing.
Yeah. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. Then it shows up, and they're like, "Well, how'd this happen?"
Yeah.
So that I had built up a little reputation, and my business partner at the time, he wanted to go his own way, so we just separated. And I was like, "Well, hell, I need to come up with a name quick." And I remember driving down the road, and there was an insurance company called Tri-County Insurance Group, and I'm like, "Hell with it, I'm Tri-County Drain Specialist." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it happened. I'd probably want to rebrand here in the next year or so, because I would like to open up an additional location somewhere else. And I don't know what that's going to be with, but real quick, while we're on here, I don't want to take over or anything, but as far as leads go, man, your opinion here on SEO, to me, I think we talked about this, but SEO seems to be like a long-term game.
Oh, yeah. I would tell you, what I would do is I would focus your SEO on anything related to trenchless and lining. The reason that is someone is going to do a deep dive on the internet about a liner or trenchless. They're not going to do a deep dive on drain cleaning. They're just not. If I got a backed up toilet, I'm on my phone, I'm on my way to work, I got a floating turd somewhere, and I'm Googling and I'm calling the first guy that says they can come for the most reasonable price I can imagine at that moment. If I'm looking to do a liner, that means I already know I have a problem. Someone's already told me this is your second opinion campaign that you're talking about. Someone already understands there's a bigger issue and I need to address it. Someone's going to get multiple quotes and do that deep dive down to the 8th, 9th, and 10th place on the internet and say, these guys sound reputable. Let me read their reviews. Let me call them out. But if you're trying to get drain calls, it's all about pay-per-click, your Google Map location, Google lead services. It's all that top 3, 4 that you see. There's no reason to invest any money organically in drain cleaning or even plumber. And what you said is what most marketing companies that don't specialize in plumbing don't understand is people actually do search for drain cleaning in Roto-Rooter services, but they don't know how to frame the campaign to get you that call only. So they force you into the plumber category.
Right.
Because there is people that do they search plumber, emergency plumber. That is a true statement, but they don't know how to create a campaign that when someone types in drain cleaning, they see an ad copy that only talks about drain cleaning. They land on a landing page that only talks about drain cleaning, and they call you. And they know how to shape that in a way. So what they do is they just focus on general terms like plumbing, throw it at your website, and then tell you, oh, I got you 50 calls last month. When in reality, half those calls were people that were already going to call you anyways. And you're going, if I got 50 new calls last month, I'd be making so much money that I wouldn't care how much I'm spending with you, right?
Right.
That's why every plumber gets stuck in the internet marketing world where they don't get, I don't get why you can't just get me drain calls and lining calls, because they don't live in that world enough to shape the campaign to convert for you. I'll give you an example. I got a guy, Randy Bailey. He's a New Flow guy. He's in Ames, Iowa. I get him 35 to 40 drain calls a month, and I get him 5 to 10 lining calls a month through paid. And then I get him another 5 to 10 organic phone calls, but he's really the only guy in Iowa. There's only like one other guy in Iowa that actually does lining. So we capture a big net, but we don't bid on any words that have the word plumber in it, plumber near me, because he doesn't want those. He owns a Roto-Rooter franchise, and he does lining, and he does septics too. So he does that's all his world. He doesn't go fix leaks and do the general plumbing stuff. He just wants drain, septics, and lining. And what we do is I handle the SEO, but I only focus on the bigger keywords: trenchless sewer repair, pipe lining near me, that type of stuff, because those are bigger purchases. And then what I do for the drain cleaning is I just create keywords that are only talking about drain cleaning: Roto-Rooter, Rooter service near me, drain cleaning near me, unclog my toilet, unclog my sink, right? And then the ad copy only talks about drain cleaning. And then I build a separate landing page for drain cleaning. Right. Now, when I do the paid side for the lining, I do the same thing. I separate it from your website, and I put it only a lining landing page. So at the end of the month, I'm going to say, you got 5 organic phone calls, you got 30 drain calls, and you got 5 paid lining calls. This is where your money's being spent. Do you want to put more money in drains because you're converting more drain to liners? Or, hey, I'm not really converting a lot of drains to liners, and the 5 lining calls were actually more valuable to me than the 40 drain cleaning calls. Let's put more money in lining. Let's expand our territory. You know what I mean? So that's where I separate myself really on the marketing side compared to, I would say, other guys that do online marketing. Like if I were to, I'll give you an example. I took on a med spa here in Miami, and I completely wet the bed. I didn't deliver anything because I don't know Botox, and I don't know what to do. Like I tried everything I know, but I don't know the nuance enough to thread that needle like I do with drain cleaning, lining, septics, water heaters, pipe leaks. I know how to thread that needle, but it's because I spent 15 years in the plumbing industry. So I actually know what it's supposed to look like on the other side. I was the VP of marketing for New Flow. So I understand lining well enough that I understand the difference and know how to create the landing page to speak to someone that might actually be wanting to get a lining service. Right. And that's just what's kind of separated me. It's just hard to find guys that's all they want is drain, lining, and sewer and septic calls. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just finding more of those people that's all they want. So the moment I turn it on, it works, and they'll be happy to pay me, and I'll be happy to serve them, and it just works. So it's like I'm a niche within a niche. So it's like finding that perfect customer that's all they want, and I can just deliver.
Right on, man. Yeah, I completely agree with everything, and it makes total sense how you're delivering that. And you're right, man. A lot of marketing companies, like my marketing guy, he's super good. I mean, I think he's awesome. But I'm in a very fine niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't, as long as I continue to be categorized as a plumber, we're missing everybody else.
Yeah. Because plumber could be a leaky hose bib. It could be my gate valve won't turn off. It could be so many things. It could be a leaky angle stop under the sink. And that's like, you're going to spend, you know, $50 to $100, and that call has no value to you.
Right.
And trust me, I've tried to go down other niches and I'm never as successful at it. So it's like, you know what, I'm just going to stay in my lane and just service this one industry, because every time I take on a client and it's outside of that niche, they end up thinking I suck. And I'm like, well, I mean, I do know what I'm doing, but I don't know your industry well enough, you
Right.
know? And that's what most guys I compete with. Even there's a company called Plumber SEO.
Yeah.
But they do plumbers and HVAC, but they do general plumbing and HVAC. And if you're in the sewer, drain, lining world, it's a completely different version of plumbing. Like you said, you were ready to just do lining. You only did sewers to get the jobs. But the people that live inside that world, it's its own category of plumbing. People that do general plumbing and service plumbing, and they do maintenance plans and stuff, that's a different animal by itself.
Absolutely. I have no business being in a house changing a cartridge. It's not what I'm good at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when I get them calls, it frustrates the hell out of me, because it's just like, you know, my time could be much better served. I might as well not even go to work today if all I have is leaking hose bibs and cartridges.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take 10 trips to the hardware store. I'm not a plumber. You know what I mean? I am not a plumber. I'm just stuck in the plumbing category. You know what I mean?
And that's actually so common across the industry. People that do service plumbing can't do drains. Guys that do drains don't do service. Guys that do, I worked for a company called Delta Mechanical. We used to install water heaters. We would do, I think, $32 million a year in water heaters, but none of those guys could do anything other than a water heater.
Right.
Like, if they got on like a clogged toilet, they'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like, you know, because it's that way. Plumbing has become so niched now, you know? So I wanted to ask you though, you went with Pipeline Supply. Why did you go over them over the other brands like Permaliner, New Flow? Just curious on what they had.
I mean, I tell you, the path that I took here was, I was at the wet show. It was 2018 or 17, 2017, I believe. I went to the wet show. Pipeline Supply was like one of the first places I came across on the internet, where I was reading their blog and understanding a little bit about smaller diameter lining, you know. So I didn't buy liner from them at first. I tell you who I actually bought liner from. As I went to the wet show, and I met Mason Rothberg from Primeline Products, you know, down there. And I got to talking with Mason, and we shot the ship for a while at the wet show. I left there. He hit me up and was like, hey, you know, was you thinking about getting into lining still? And I was like, yeah. So I had bought some product from him and Pipeline Supply at the same time. And we did some demos at my shop here. And then I ended up landing a lining job at a local resort here called Nemacolin Woodlands Resort. So I stuck with Primeline, and I still buy from Primeline. I still buy from Pipeline Supply. I buy from Masterliner, and I buy from everywhere. I tell you exactly why I didn't end up with going with like a Permaliner or a New Flow or one of those guys is just I felt like, and I might be talking out of context, and I don't want to piss anybody off along the way, but with my lining experience and the cost of the material and the equipment that they were trying to push on me, I felt I was too experienced to buy into those buy-ins. You know what I mean? Like,
because they're the ones
lining trailer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're taking guys that don't know lining and bringing them into it. They're taking drain guys and turning them into liners where you just needed the product. You didn't need.
Yeah, that's it. You know,
you didn't need all the back end stuff.
Right. So I mean, I believe the Permaliner and all them guys put out a great product, and they're pumping, you know, turning plumbers into great lining companies. But at the time when I was getting into it, you know, the only time I think I'd probably buy into Permaliner now is if I got, you know, heavy into municipal lateral lining and needed to meet specifications with
manhole to manhole type stuff. Yeah.
Right. You know, but other than that, I mean, it's you know, if you do some outside research and you don't need the support from, you know, one of those manufacturers, you can buy the material for a third of the cost, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
Which is,
I didn't,
you know, kind of where I I mean, you know, not getting figuratively speaking, but you could go right to Masterliner and buy straight from the manufacturer that cuts the lining price to, you know,
Yeah.
very small margins, you know.
Yeah. Well, that matters, right? I mean, your
Right.
job cost drives your margin, drives your price.
Right.
It matters. And if you don't need that support, and it sounds like you had, like you said, you kind of came in backwards into the plumbing industry, so you didn't need all that back end help. You needed to figure out how to do actual plumbing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, the back end help that would have helped me at all, like getting started. You know, I'd said multiple times, I wish I would have jumped in with one of them guys at the beginning because and I don't know this for sure. I think that they might have been able to help me with sales techniques right off the
Yeah.
bat. They would have propelled me a little bit further than, you know, the trenches that I was in to get, you know, to where we're at now, you know, and we're nowhere
Yeah.
near where we want to be, but we're moving in the right direction now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, perfect. So look, it's a great episode. Let's just close it out with, you know, shouting out your contact information, your website, where people can find you if they want to use you or refer you work.
Yep. So Shadd Matthews with Tri-County Specialist. You can find me online at www.tri-countydrainspecialist.com. Also on Instagram as Tri-County Drain Specialist. And 724-880-9740. And hey, Will, I'm going to shoot you a message when we get off here. I have another guy that would be really good for you to talk to.
Awesome. Great.